Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Wasteless World Talks with Bill, Kevin, and Noah, and myself. And today's topic, we will speak about memories. And I will start with Bill. Bill, if you close your eyes and you hear the term memories, which came first to your mind?
We've talked sometimes about whether or not there really is time. Time does not exist. Um, we've talked about that sometime. Memories depend on time. And if they did not really happen, then it's not really a memory. It's fiction that our minds have conjured up. I, in one of my books, I described some things that happened when I was a kid with my brothers and sisters. And my older brother said, that's not the way it happened at all, which makes me question my memory.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, you are the second one. So if you close your eyes and you hear the term memories, which came first?
I think about happy memories, which then leads me to think that what we remember isn't the truth. What we remember is what we want to remember. And so we have a filter, and we filter our memories, and we distort our memories, and we make them better suit what we want them to mean.
Interesting. And Noah, the same question for you.
What was interesting about that is that when we, in the previous terms, when you've asked me to think about the term, I would think about the word and not the experience. But when you said memories, it was like that thing, where you say, don't think of a pink elephant, and all you can think of is a pink elephant. I just was kind of flooded with memories. So it's a very surprisingly kind of action-oriented experience where it conjured up actual memories, not thoughts on what the word means. It was more emotional than cognitive. And usually when you give me a word, it's a cognitive process rather than an emotional process. And I want to add, because Bill and Kevin both touched on it, all of the science is quite clear that our memories are lies we tell ourselves. We make stuff up. We don't remember things well at all. In fact, Neil deGrasse Tyson said at some point, and if you don't know who he is, he's the head of the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Brilliant astrophysicist and great communicator. He had said that if he's asked to serve on a jury and the only evidence is eyewitness testimony, he would refuse to serve because he knows that eyewitness testimony is flawed. It's not an accurate representation of reality. So he'd have no basis to make a fair judgment.
So very interesting, especially what you described last. Generally, few hours ago, I have the same people from all around the globe, and every answer was emotional. Every answer was the nice memories, Kevin. Not a single one was negative. And what was interesting for me, that no one used or connected the term to digital. Because right now many people speak about digital memories, and there is I have read some survey. What is the reason for switching the mobile phone? The memory is full. The memory can be cleaned up, but the memory is full, so the people switch the phone, buy a phone with a bigger memory. So, and I don't know if you remember, Kevin and Bill, we have already similar word. We spoke about memory, not memories, but memory. It's more than a year ago.
Maybe if you had said memory instead of memories, I would have thought of digital. But what's interesting, language is so incredibly powerful and weird. Um, what's interesting about the digital memory is that it's not really memory; it's a recording, right? It's capturing, recording, but we give that storage capacity. Uh, we anthropomorphize that storage capacity into something that sounds human, very much like, and I'm thinking about this quite clearly in this context. I heard somebody talking yesterday about artificial intelligence and that we use the word hallucinate, and she was like, AI doesn't hallucinate, it just lies. It's BS. It makes stuff up, you know? So we as humans are having this tendency to anthropomorphize our digital companions, connections, tools, resources, whatever, using language of human process and applying that to electronic process, and they're not the same.
I don't know if you guys saw the story. I saw one of the British newspapers of a scam on the Indian subcontinent where a guy had pretended to open an AI business, but it was just a bunch of humans working for him.
That's really funny.
Just yesterday, I think I get very interesting about scamming. And the center in the world is really in Kolkata in India. So, and they are trying to close it down. It's almost impossible because they are so frequently switching the locations and so on. But the system is all the time the same. The target is all the time the same. So, and the results are all the time the same. So a lot of money stolen. Same story is used generally or slightly modified. And it's quite interesting. What is interesting that very few people know that generally, if we take for example, the social media, LinkedIn, you cannot. The memory of LinkedIn is 2 years. The memory of Facebook is longer. It's almost from the beginning. I see it at least from my post. Twitter have almost no memory. It gives you only numbers. How many reach whatever post or tweet. So there are no memories. And even recently the AI has no memory switched on. So it's just work with this short time, remembering just one conversation. And if you came 1 hour back, you have to start from the very beginning again.
Actually, I'm going to disagree because I've been getting an alert in my chat GPT that the memory is full. So I was able to go back and look at the memories that GPT has, and I cleaned some stuff up, right? That wasn't relevant, but it is capturing entries and hanging on to them as memories to inform future answers.
I get the information that ChatGPT switched it on 2 months ago. Is it possible that it's just the 2 months work?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't think so.
Okay. It's just one of the information which was announced. But Kevin, I think you have something to say. At least you look like that.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking that the more electronic memory, even though it's not memory, it's just the recording, the more we use it, the less memory we have. I think memory is one of those things which has to be exercised. And if you don't exercise it, you lose the ability, you lose the skill. So, I can't remember anybody's telephone numbers because there's just no need any longer. And it is a skill we're losing because we just don't need it anymore.
That's interesting. You should say that because I've thought that about people who go to a new place and they spend the whole time taking pictures, right? But they don't look themselves. They don't appreciate. So they come home. And so what did you see? Well, I have it all in pictures, right? I know, but was that a cathedral or was that and they just don't use it. And they depend on the camera or the recording of it.
I was once a witness. I was driving with my Japanese manager, and he was driving, and we met there in one city in Poland, his superior, so Japanese again. I have never, ever witnessed that. We arrived to the city 4:45, and at 5, everything closed. This guy, this superior, has the map in his head. We have been running, really running through the city. He just taking the picture before they close. And then at the end of the day, we have a dinner, and I asked him, how many photographs do you have? He said, I don't know, 5 terabytes. I said, have you ever looked at them? No, I will look when I will be old. He was 60. And this is 10 years ago. So 4 terabytes 10 years ago, when you compare the size of the images, it's a lot of images.
When I was working for, yeah, Kevin, I agree with you. I think that we are, the digital augmentation is altering the needs of our cognitive functions in very meaningful ways. And when you were talking about, not being able to remember phone numbers, I was thinking about how human storytelling has shifted so dramatically in the last 100 years, right? We used to gather around a campfire and tell stories, or look up at the stars and pass down, traditions of the constellations. Or even like my grandparents would sit around a radio, right? And they'd have to have mental images of what is being described to them. So the brain is functioning differently. And of course, we all know that when we read, our brain functions differently than when we're sent images in movies or television. And I'm wondering what I think the trade-off is, that we're just bombarded with so much more information, and that we're not able to retain it. And we're relying upon these other tools to retain the information. And Michael, to your point, and your Japanese colleague, when I was working at Microsoft, and I think they've released it in some form or another, somebody had developed a pendant that was a camera that took a picture every, couple seconds. So you could have a record of your day. And the intent was, at the time, it was for people that were suffering from maybe like early onset dementia, or having some other memory problems, where they could have a recording of the day and go back and reference things. But I feel like it's, when we get to this point where we've got augmented reality glasses on all the time, or something's kind of recording all of our motion, we may not have to be present at all, because it's being recorded for later consumption. And Bill, to your point, I wonder what we lose when we give up that presence, when we give up that in the moment awareness that we're told by all of the gurus, that being present in the moment is the key to human existence and enlightenment. Right? We're going in absolutely the wrong direction by deferring that to technology.
I do remember the Microsoft device. I don't remember the name, but currently there are at least 3 devices on the market which do exactly that, with the support of artificial intelligence. And one of these devices, I don't know how, it's generally, you can attach it to your mobile phone, and it records the calls or whatever, and rewrite it for you in a writing form.
Right.
Can you imagine? I would like to test this device on this conversation. That will be very interesting, but I will not read it. It will be boring for me to read. And the second thing, my eyes are not so good, so I prefer this visual possibility and this impact. And just a few days ago, and I think we talked about it last time, in Czech media, there was a news that the young people stop speaking on the phone. They use it for texting. They don't speak. They don't feel comfortable to speak.
It's interesting. In the old days, when people went exploring, doing something, then they would hold talks about it afterwards. And they would describe their events. But then along comes the camera, along comes the video recorder, along comes electronics. And so we're less descriptive and we're much more factual than we ever used to be. It was getting on to Noah's point, what are we losing? I think we're losing the ability to express ourselves and get into other people's imaginations and stir their imagination, because now we just show it. The magic is gone.
And expand that to conversation. We don't sit around the dinner table anymore after dinner talking. We don't have the face-to-face conversations. We text. Some people are uncomfortable talking one-on-one, right? Especially in person, especially up close. They would much rather be Zooming because it's safer. I think there's probably 6 or 10 dimensions that are changing grossly. Communication being one of them. Your pendant recording or the recording of the memories. There are these headbands. I think we've talked about them before. That record the wavelengths of the brain being used for a wide variety of tasks. One being students, so the teacher can look at her laptop and tell which students are engaged and which are dozing off, right? And there are some jobs that require people to be wearing these headbands so that they can be monitored. It's a big deal in China. It is starting here also. For example, I would like the pilot of my airplane to be wearing one of those, so that an alarm goes off if he dozes, right? That would be important to me, or the bus driver. But where do you expand that to or not expand that to, right? So I don't need to talk to you, Kevin. My headband will talk to your headband. So what will we lose with that? So it's gosh, come back in 10 or 20 years, all sorts of communications differences
I think
and memories.
I think what will not be needed will be the human to carry it. You know, it should be carried by human beings. It will be not our memories. It will be memories of some device or recordings of some device, to be honest. I think last week I mentioned that there was a test in China how they can track a person, and there was I spoke about 700 million cameras. I'm sorry, it was a wrong information. This information was 6 years old, and today the number of camera is double the number of persons in China. So it's generally triple the volume in 6 years. So the person can be tracked today probably much more faster.
So then do we need people?
The technology don't need people, I will say it so. Me, you, Kevin, Noah, we need people. We need humans. We need to wake up, everyone. But the technology does not need us anymore.
I know that in the European Union, face recognition technology is banned. Is it the same in the US?
No, not banned.
In some, I think New York City has, they tested, but they ban it. And there are some discussions in other states in the US.
Yes, I think I've read that I don't know the extent, but there are major concerns. Yes.
But Kevin, currently in Germany, after the stabbing which happened there in Solingen and in the other cities, they are considering to not only have this recording ability, but even to analyze the web recordings with the face recognition software. Last week, I think it was on Friday announced or so. So it's quite fresh.
I think that the advantages just don't outweigh the disadvantages. It can be so corrupted, this technology. We should never allow it.
And it is already now. So, it's who decide is the one who own it, who pay it, and not the citizens at all. So that's the issue. But I think coming back to the memories itself, I think it is very important to learn. And you mentioned it at the beginning, Bill, to learn how to create them, how to maintain them, how to work with them. Because still they are memories. If they are right or wrong, that's another question, but they are human memories. And I think we should teach people, be happy to have them. Not to look on the screen, but to look here.
I remember as a kid, one of my favorite books was an old English book written in the 20s called Cider with Rosie. And it was just memories of somebody growing up in the west of England in the Edwardian era. So it was, in those 50, 60 years, the world had changed beyond recognition. But it was just such a beautiful book. And it was people's memories, but you were there with them, which was wonderful, which modern technology, you can look at all the photos, but you're just not there in the same way. There's not the same emotional connection.
I think that's the key, guys. I think that when we've talked about this, kind of off and on in the past, is that the way that we've been taught our education is that we've been modeling how we want machines to behave. And now the machines are superior in most ways in that behavior. So what we really need to do, I think, as a species is to revert back to the things that make us core and human, because we do need each other, but we need each other for emotional connection and sensory experiences, not to process information and not to record our experiences. We need to be with each other in the moment and really lean into our humanity. And as you guys know, I'm working a lot with emotions and feelings and love. These are things that machines may be able to replicate, have a facsimile of, but they'll never be real. And I think that those are the things that we need to be not only leaning into, but actively working on and educating young people on how to experience these aspects of humanity, because otherwise we're going to lose to the technology we've created.
How do we get that added to the curriculum in our schools? Because right now it's difficult they ban books. If you get into subjects that you shouldn't get into, they ban the books. So we need to develop this thought a whole lot more and figure out how to get this into the curriculum. So in fact, we are teaching kids. There's a whole bunch of things we need to be teaching kids that we never had to teach them before. This is one of them. How to recognize propaganda and fake news and so on is another one of them. We are just not good at passing on some of these understandings.
We are generally going away from that. If you look in the past, there was fine when I hold a girl hand in the school. Today, it will be sexual whatever. So you cannot touch the people. The great test, generally, I will call it the great test, I mean it in a negative aspect, was the COVID time. You cannot even be close to a person, you know. You have to have a distance of 1 meter at least. And it was like a test, very severe test, whether the humans will accept such a misbehavior against humanity generally. So we have to get it back, you are right. But to doing that, completely the systems should change. I will say the system should be avoided, because you mentioned it, the machines are ready, they can take over. But the people who push it through, they never ever thought about what the people will do. All the time I get the answer, they will find a job. No. If we will have 4 days working week, there are 3 days to fill with what? If you don't know, and you know, it's exactly that. So everybody's celebrating 4 days week. Nobody's considering what we will do in the 3 remaining days. Have a fun. If we cannot have a fun, if we don't know how to have a fun, how we will have a fun? So it's a really, really serious topic, and I think you are absolutely right. We have to get it back to the life, to education, to everywhere.
So one you guys mentioned radio. I think it was Noah. And we discussed earlier that radio is the theater of the mind. And I think the great thing about old people talking about their memories, again, that plays in the theater in our minds. And that's the power of memories. It's so fantastic when you hear people discussing things. It's like if you see a photograph of an elephant, you see a photograph of an elephant. But if you hear someone's description of an elephant, it's totally different. And it plays in a completely different way in our minds.
I think this is one of the topics which can help us, or one of the abilities which can help us to recognize artificial intelligence and the content created by AI. Because I will say that not a single AI tool, no matter how advanced it is, will be able to match with us right now. Because we are switching between topics, we are using different terms, we are using descriptions, and so on. And they will have so many questions, but we don't need it because we feel it. You know, no matter that cameras are here in front of us. Of course, if we will sit in one room, it will be even more fun. But it's here, it's the camera here. Okay, you can be in the US, in Denmark, me in Czech Republic, fine. And what? But using it as a tool, I think that's the important part, and understanding that the basic is the most important one. I have yesterday very interesting discussion with one coach which does really great work. And he used, in one sentence, he uses special terms. And I said, but I don't do it. I don't do it systematically. I lead by not leading. That was my answer. And he said, I never heard about it. How can you lead without leading? I said, I am the first one who do it, simply. And the people, if they like it, they will follow. So, and they will do it again, and they will maybe and probably do it even better than me. But I'm not trying to be a leader. I'm not trying to why should I? I do it. If I cannot do it, is something wrong with it? Me or the idea is wrong? So when I implement anywhere, anything, I'm the first one who try. So, and these are the memories. I don't have them for the 15 years, but still they are somewhere there. They are helping me because otherwise I will not be able to speak and write. And so I just do not remember these things. But we are here to hand it over. And your books and everything what you do is exactly that. I don't want to see books on the edge of a garbage bins, and I saw it a few days ago. It's horrible image, horrible image. So you will.
There's also a thought, Michael, there exists false memories. So if people, so children who are in a family that that has split up, sometimes one of the parents will say things about the other parent so many times in such a way that the kids latch onto that, and they call them false memories. And um, that's a whole nother topic. Um, and they even reside in the brain in a different place than memories that you have experienced. Uh, and how do you remove false memories? How do you deal with false memories? And the people who deal with parental alienation and things like that have lots of books written about that, and lots of scientific descriptions of it. But false memories, I think, can be generated more than just with a family that is having difficulties. Can be generated by governments with propaganda that they want the people to believe. And so there's probably other versions of memories besides ones we experience and false memories, and there's probably some other categories. We're just scratching the surface here.
I don't think you can erase the memories from your head, but you can learn to recognize them. You can recognize the memories in the media or so.
Good.
So I think the critical thinking is there, one of the things. As I said, I don't remember the first 15 years of my life. I feel that it is a memory of my mom or of my dad, but I don't have this emotional connection to this memory. But if there is something which came right now, my granddad, who generally it's almost 3 years ago as he passed away. And this is my memory, the last touch which we had. And I just want to say, there is a quite interesting thing which my mom and dad are doing. If they are visiting a place, they don't take so much pictures, but they buy, for example, a cup on a castle. And there is written, it was bought there. And every time when they get it in their hand, they can tell me the entire story, how they went there, how old was the castle, and so on. So the power of touch in there is so impressive, so impressively strong. So I
That's
think
interesting. That's the real power of souvenirs, right? So you have a physical object that connects you back to your emotional memory of a time and a place in a way that sometimes a photograph doesn't do.
Yeah, memories are triggered.
Yeah.
There was one thing I was reading about memory, and that is as we get older, quite old, we lose our short and midterm memory, but we regain our long-term memory. And so a lot of memories that we thought we'd lost actually do come back. I guess if it's part of a natural process, it is to pass on wisdom, because we're no longer able to work for the tribe way back when.
And I think this is how the nature give us the opportunity to hand it over. The knowledge, the experience. What was interesting for me, I have seen this with many really old people, but I never saw this with my granddad. Despite the fact he was 99, he did not swim in these very old memories. He did remember, but he remembered what was yesterday is the same. But what was quite interesting, because he was teacher, he was able to speak about these things. for 4 hours, 5 hours in a line. And we have, as I said, very, very interesting discussions. So, and as you said, that the artificial intelligence is really can lie. And so, yes, just on September 1st was I am author. I have to say, I am author officially. I was never from September 1st, Springer Verlag, so one of the largest academic publishers. One chapter in a book is written by me, but it was written in a wrong way. So they offered me that the chat GPT will translate it in an academic language, and I accepted. So they did. But then I realized three things. You did not know about it, Noah, but I told it before. First, it itself, ChatGPT, is the co-author automatically. I said no. The second was that it changed the date of publishing of the RUR, which is Karel Čapek's first novel about robots. Everywhere you will find only 1921, and it changed it to 1922 for I don't know what reason. I spend more time reading and correcting the AI than writing the original article. So it was interesting. And we have only 2 minutes left.
With 2 minutes left, I just want to add to the conversation because I think it's important, and this is a relatively new thing to me, so not a lot of people are aware. I think that we don't just store memories in our brains, we store memories in our bodies, and it's been proven that we can store memory in the form of trauma in our genetics. Right. So we are able to pass down generation to generation, generational trauma that has effects on future generations. And if that's not memory, I don't know what is, right? Like that ability to pass down something that's happened in the past and share that with the future is very human and clearly, a form of memory that's not cerebral. It happens somewhere else in our bodies.
Noah, do you know if the gut biome has anything to do with that?
I do know that it's epigenetics, but I don't know where that occurs.
I have to thank you for your time because it's the last minute it's going on. And it was a great conversation in which all of us, we use our memories. And that's the great one. And when I saw your face on the first answer, all of you smiled because there was the first which came was the nice and beautiful memory. So I would like to wish you and everyone who is listening have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and enjoy every single of your memories. And see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.